Good evening and welcome to the regular City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, and it's 7 p.m. Regular meetings are generally held on the first and third Tuesday of each month in City Council chambers here at City Hall. City Clerk Assistant, please call the roll.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Jennings.
Here.
Councilmember Winstead.
Present.
Councilmember Otto.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Johns.
Here.
Mayor Genoway.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Great. Thank you so much. Now I would like to invite Jan Charetz of First Church of Christ Scientist to provide this evening's invocation, followed by Boy Scout Troop 772 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise.
Heavenly Father, we come to you in earnest prayer that you would bless this meeting. You have ordained man to reflect your unfailing wisdom, courage, and grace. So as we come together this evening to do the joyful work concerning our fair city, we ask your guidance to fulfill this work with clarity, with thoughtfulness, and in the spirit of embracing all our citizens with dignity and love. The decisions and considerations to be made here, both large and small, will ring true to the benefit of all based on your excellent presence. We praise you, O Holy One. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. Boy Scout Troop 772 Color Guard, advance. Please place your hand over your heart. Those in uniform and veterans, salute. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Audience, you may be seated.
Thanks so much, guys. We're going to come meet you down in the well and talk to you for a minute. Great job, guys. Thank you so much. Why don't you come back here a little bit? Troop 772, my favorite troop. That was my home troop when I was a scout and earned my Eagle Scout Award through Troop 772. Why don't you tell us your name, what school you go to, and your favorite merit badge that you have earned?
My name's Ashton Pippin. I go to Aliso Viejo Middle School, and my favorite merit badge was astronomy.
My name is Evan Tuppy. I'm homeschooled, and I think my favorite would be the cooking merit badge.
My name is Hudson Vander Westhuizen. I go to Journey School, and my favorite merit badge would probably be engineering.
And of course, Tom Sales. Why don't you tell us your favorite merit badge?
Sure. Like Ray, by the way, I'm Tom Sales. I'm the Scoutmaster of Troop 772, and I'm an Eagle as well. And my favorite merit badge, I think, was oceanography. So.
All right, very cool. Mine was aviation because back when I was a scout in 772, they used to take us up to a little airport in Long Beach where personal aircrafts were flown out of, and they'd take us up in the air and they'd let the scout sit in the pilot seat and fly the plane for a little while. Kind of scary stuff for an 11-year-old, but I'll never forget it. So great experiences through scouting. And let's get a couple pictures, and then one of you can dismiss us. Great. Evan, you want to dismiss us?
Color guard dismissed.
All right, thank you so much, and that concludes our presentation for tonight. All right, now is the time for public comment. Any person wishing to make a public comment should fill out a gold slip located near the door and turn it into our city clerk. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak tonight?
There are none, Mayor.
Seeing none, public comment is now closed. We will now move on to our consent calendar. Are there any items to be pulled by the council from the consent calendar?
Yes, I'd like to put item number 5.
Number 5 will be pulled by Councilmember Otto. Any others? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the remainder of the consent calendar? Made by Councilmember Jennings, seconded by Councilmember Otto. Please vote.
I am having a technical difficulty,
Should we take a voice vote?
if we could.
All right, all in favor of the remainder of the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries 5-0. Councilmember Otto, item number 5.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just so excited about this project getting moved up in our schedule because it's a long time coming. I supported Laguna Niguel's public safety last year when I suggested we move this project up 1 year ahead of time during last year's budget workshop. And it was a good move to do because it was public safety issue. It was shovel ready, and it was only going to be about $600,000. And we always have had a big reserve here in Laguna Niguel, so it made a lot of financial sense as well. So I just want to thank and I'm grateful for Mayor Pro Tem Johns, who represents the district that this project is in and came over to meet me in the middle and suggest that we do this project at the 6-month mark during the budget hearing. So showing that when we put our residents first, we can work together to do great things for our community. And with that, I'll make the motion to support this project and move it forward, if I can do it.
Motion made by Councilmember Otto. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Johns. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. We are now moving on to our public hearing item. We have one public hearing item this evening. This is a public hearing item to consider the draft community development block grant 5-year consolidated plan for fiscal year 2025 through 2029, the FY 25 through 29 Orange County Regional Assessment of Fair Housing, and the annual action plan for FY 25-26. Community Development Director Orduña, will you please present this item?
Good evening, Mayor Genoway and council members. The presentation on this item will be provided by the city's CDBG consultant, Mike Linares.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. I have a very short PowerPoint presentation for the council, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Oops, sorry, went the wrong way. Did I go the right way? Is that the beginning? No, we're going backward. Trying to find that from, looking for this screen here. Oh, sorry, a little technical difficulty. There we go. There we go. Okay, great, thank you. Apologize for that. So Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, as it's commonly referred to, the federal grant that the city receives, has received since 1997. It's received by over 1,200 local jurisdictions and state governments throughout the United States. It is a formula grant A couple of the variables are that are considered are poverty, rate of poverty in the community, population growth, and age of housing stock. There are other variables, but these are the primary ones that HUD uses. So in order for the city to continue to receive CDBG funds, it must have a consolidated plan. The consolidated plan is a strategic plan. It's a 5-year strategic plan that identifies community needs. It obviously has a strategy in there. And then it also will eventually, over the course of the 5 years, outline how the city plans to use its annual allocation of CDBG funding. The current consolidated plan was approved by the City Council in May 2020. We are in the final year of that 5-year cycle, so that's why this item is before you this evening. It's the new to begin the new 5-year cycle starting next fiscal year, and it will run through fiscal year 29-30. So just briefly, a couple of I know the document's pretty big. I don't know if you had a chance to go through it. I was at a commission meeting last night when the neighboring cities, one of the commission members said that he read it on the way back from Hawaii and he fell asleep halfway through it. And I fall asleep writing it. There's a lot of stuff in there. Much of it is there we go. There are much of the tables that are in the document are actually data tables that are generated by HUD. So it's data that they provide that then the city needs to analyze. There's also, you'll notice, there's some primer questions. So it's a pretty established template that we have to use. Not much deviation can come from that. Some of the basic sections that are in there is there's a housing and community needs assessment. Again, it's looking at housing needs, the needs of the homeless population, people at risk of homelessness in the community, people with special needs, and then looking at community needs like public infrastructure, public facility type improvements. It has a housing market analysis where we look at the age of the housing stock, also look at the resources that the city has available to address homeless issues, again, individuals who are at risk of becoming homeless, and those special need resources. Also looks at barriers to the provision or development of affordable housing, and also addresses fair housing issues. Those two may look familiar to you. They're very similar to what the city's housing element, the state housing element requires. So there's some similarities in the two documents. It has, like I said, it has a strategic plan. That's where it sets the 5-year goals that the city will strive to meet over the course of the comp plan cycle. And then it has the 1-year action plan. That's probably the one that the council may be more familiar with. That's the one that as the staff brings to you on an annual basis. That's the annual allocation. This year, because it's a consolidated plan, it's actually included as part of the larger document. But in future years, you will see just the action plan this time of year when staff brings the CDBG funding for your consideration. In terms of just real briefly, again, there's a lot of detail in the document, but for the most part, the 5-year goals that are in the consolidated plan are very similar to the ones that are in the current plan. They're kind of, to a large extent, they are rather vague in order to give the city some flexibility over the course of the 5 years to move from one type of program to another. Some communities get very detail-oriented when they describe their housing needs, actually physically listing projects that will be accomplished over the 5 years. When I first started doing these, I would do the similar, but what I found is you're in year 3, a project's not gonna get done, things change, another priority pops up in the community, and if you make it too rigid, you can't move your funding too quickly between the activities. So you'll notice that the 5-year goals are rather broad, but that's intended to give the city as much flexibility over the 5 years as possible. But in general, there are public facility improvements. Those would be your streets, sidewalks, ADA type improvements. Affordable housing, which is something that was added to your current comp plan toward the tail end. At the last year, we amended the plan to add your affordable housing. That was in order to support some of the housing element goals that the city has established. There's public services. Those are your social service programs, programs to help seniors, disabled individuals, and youth. Your homelessness prevention services, those would be your housing utility assistance programs for people who may be at risk of becoming homeless, food banks, and perhaps interim housing. And then the fifth component is your program administration, which includes fair housing services, which the city is required to provide. To date, HUD has not published the actual 2025 allocations. We've been working with a estimated grant of $310,000, which is about almost 10% less than your current year grant. We're using that number because about a year ago, when the Biden administration proposed the 2025 budget, they actually proposed a 10% cut to CDBG. So that's the target that I've been working with. As part of that, there are two caps that we have to follow. These are statutory caps, so we can't move away from these unless Congress changes the law. There's a 15% cap for public services. So based on the 310,000, that's $46,500. And then there's a 20% cap on administration. That'd be the 62,000. Additionally, the city has some prior year funds that were uncommitted. Either those came from projects that came in under budget. Perhaps your admin came under budget. So all those little pieces get accumulated, and then we are allowed to roll them into the next year. So that gets added to the pie. So the action plan right now shows an allocation for the $354,417. Now, about a month ago, Congress and the president finally signed a budget, a continuing resolution. They basically kicked out the 2024 grant or 2024 budget, became your 2025 budget. So but there still have to apply, HUD still has to apply the formula to it. So we can't just assume you're going to have level funding. It may go up, may go down. But there's a possibility, most likely the grant will go back up about $30,000. As spelled out in the action plan, in the staff report, staff's recommendation is to adjust those allocations that are in the plan right now proportionally. So if it is, let's say, a 3% increase or an 8% increase, we would bump everything up that 8%, 3%, whatever it may be. If it comes in less than we anticipate, then obviously we would adjust everything downward. But right now, I'm anticipating you'll probably be going up about, if I'd have to guess, about $30,000 would be additional grant funding, which is about another $4,000 or $5,000 for the public services. So again, those grants would be able to go up. This table just basically, again, it's in the staff report, but again, just kind of a table format showing the estimated grant, the carryover funds from prior years, and then the allocation into three categories: the public services, program administration, and then the capital improvements. And then a pie chart so you can kind of see the bulk of the funding is allocated toward those two public improvement projects. With respect to public service grants, the city received 6 requests for funding for next fiscal year, totaling over $157,000. So when the city's ad hoc committee, budget committee met, staff had presented some recommendations to the ad hoc committee. They also had a few of the applicants made short presentations. And the recommendation that you see at the far column on the right, at least on the screen, is what is being recommended and is in the action plan right now. And again, there's a pie chart there to kind of give council an idea of how funds are being allocated. For the most part, pretty evenly, with a little heavy on the youth programming. But again, there's a good spread of the funding that's available for the community to be able to allocate or to utilize. With respect to the rest of the allocation, again, the maximum amount that's available for administration based on the estimated grant is $62,000. The action plan is allocating that to the fair housing services, and then the balance to consulting services. The city is in the process of an RFP for new program administration services for CDBG. So it was, we left that a little bit high because we don't know what that dollar amount will come in. However, the staff report does say if there's anything left over, that will be available to program to your capital improvement projects. So that's not to say that you'll max that out. Anything that's left over will be able to move to your other activities. There's 2 capital projects for next year. Proposed. One is a continuation of your 88-year push-button installation program, as a program the city has had in place for a while. So it's a identification of some new intersections where those improvements will go in. And then another neighborhood has been identified for some upgrades to sidewalks and curb ramps and to bring those up to current ADA standards. There are two additional documents that are kind of tied together and are included in the consolidated plan and in your recommendation. The assessment to fair housing. As a recipient of CDBG funds and just in general, the city is prohibited from discriminating on housing-related programs, and that carries into your public services as well. Additionally, the state requires the city to affirm fair housing. In order to meet those two requirements, the city joined with other Orange County cities in the county to develop the 2025-2029 Regional Orange County Assessment to Fair Housing. The city did very similar 5 years ago. It was called the Impediments to Fair Housing Analysis. Analysis of Fair Housing and AI, Analysis of Impediments to Fair Housing. So this regional approach to the fair housing document is not new. It's just, again, the 5-year cycle, so we're doing a new one. It does require the council to adopt. So that's why it's attached and brought to you to the comp plan brought to you this evening. It basically looks at several housing community indicators. It looks at reports of over the last couple of years of fair housing complaints and does an analysis on that. And then it includes action steps that the city will implement over the next 5 years to address the impediments to fair housing that have been identified. And the 5-year strategy or the action plan mirrors what's in your housing element. So once again, the idea is to kind of keep those two documents as parallel as possible. The other document that's attached, and this is really, because of the way the regulations are set, we're bringing it to you, but mainly we're just doing some technical updates. The citizen participation plan, the city's required to have this plan. You've had it since you became an entitlement community several years ago. It basically outlines the policies and the process that the city follows to have to encourage citizen participation in the process of allocating CDBG funds. The current plan was last modified actually in May of 2020 when HUD provided the CDBG CV, the CARES Act funding. We were required to amend the citizen participation plan since they had a modified process due to the pandemic. So that's your most recent amendment was in 2020. This amendment, really all we're doing is adding the term assessment to fair housing because currently reads assessment to impediments to fair housing. Same document, they just changed the title, so we just have to update the citizen participation plan, but we're required to have a public hearing and a comment period for it. So that's why we tied it into this document as well, and you're asked to take action on that as well. So that's basically my presentation. Again, the recommendation is for the City Council to hold a public hearing, to consider the documents that we just described, and then to direct staff to bring all the documents back to you at your next council or your May 6th council meeting to incorporate any changes, any comments that may have been received in the meantime. And with that, I'll conclude my comments and be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Linares. I know Councilmember Jennings and I, we sit on the ad hoc committee, and we really appreciated going through all of this in great detail with you just a couple of months ago. During that meeting, I asked you a question, and I'm going to ask you again tonight. I asked you, obviously there's a lot of news and talk about the status of federal grants, and I asked you about whether the changing status of those grants were going to affect this CDBG grant, and at the time you said there was nothing to indicate that there would be a change in status for this grant. Is that still the case today?
Mayor, I think so. I mean, what we do have now, we didn't have when we had the ad hoc, this is an approved budget. So we know at least for next fiscal year, there will be some grant funds. After that, I think it's still maybe up in the air in terms of what CDBG may or may not look like. Just speaking to other cities and other peers, everybody's kind of moving forward. We have to make the assumption that the funding will be there. So having an approved consolidated plan opens that path for that for future years. If you were not to have a consolidated plan, then, how do we say, well, you're not eligible to receive the funds, whether there are funds or not. So I think it's definitely for next year, the funding is there. It's been approved, and then we're just waiting for the actual allocation, the actual number, and then they'll send us the agreements. And then we'll wait and see what happens in the next budget cycle. CDBG has always been a supported program in Congress. Many congressional representatives, such as yours, come from this dais. Council members have moved their way up to Congress and the Senate, so they're very familiar with CDBG because they probably dealt with it at the local level at some point. For smaller jurisdictions, it is some funding for capital improvements. You're not getting larger, federal funding for some, major projects. So it remains a popular program. It's also one of the things that they've talked about recently, why it may still, stay alive, is that it is a convenient means to get emergency funding to the local level. For example, in the fires recently in LA, that's how some of the funding, emergency funding, was brought into the communities. It was using the CDBG formula. That's how the COVID money got brought in, again, because you have this formula based on population. So it's almost like an even way of spreading allocations across the country. So it has a lot of support, bipartisan support. But I'd be lying if I said I knew it was going to happen, but I think it will survive in some form or another. But definitely for next year, you will most likely will have your funding in place.
Great. We will continue to stay the course on this. Are there any other questions from council members?
Thank you. I just had a question on for Public Works. We're doing a lot of the ADA compliance stuff on the street corners every time. We do a little bit more and more. What's the general coverage that we've been able to cover in the city? Like, how much more do we have to go? Generally, I'm sorry, I'm popping this on you last minute.
Yeah, we are required to meet ADA with all of our capital investments in our roadway projects. The CDBG funding that we receive is generally allocated to our residential program. That's the areas defined as eligible through the CDBG program. So those funds don't go towards like our arterial program. And we also, for the rest of the roadways, we always tag the ADA improvements that are required with an ongoing construction project. So we go in at one time, we get it all done. It's more convenient for the public, more cost effective. I don't have an estimate off the top of my head where we are. It's a continuous process throughout the city. As soon as you finish one end, you start back over at the other.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions from council members? Seeing none, we will move to public comment. If you would like to make a comment, please fill out a gold-colored slip near the front of, near the doors to the council chambers. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
No, Mayor.
Seeing none, public comment is now closed on this item. Is there any discussion from council members? Well, I'll just say that it was really nice to hear from all of the community groups seeking grants under this grant funding. AgeWell Senior Services, Camino Health Center, Family Assistance Ministries, South County Outreach, Vocational Visions, and the YMCA of Orange County help serve some of the most needy people in our community. And whatever we can do to help them, to help members of our community, is a worthwhile goal. And I really enjoy serving on this ad hoc committee now for, I believe it's the third year. It's one of the most fulfilling things that we as a council can do, is to help our fellow brothers and sisters in the community. And so are there any other discussion points? Councilmember Jennings?
I just would like to reiterate kind of what you said. It's just such an honor that we're able to support these incredible organizations that are doing so much good work in our community, and we get to support them. So I'm glad to hear that we're moving forward, at least with next year. And so thank you very much for all your work, and it is an honor to serve on that ad hoc. Thank you.
Great. Any other discussion points? Okay. Is
Mayor,
there?
if I may,
Where's
we'll
that
need to
coming from?
take a voice vote. Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. All right. I will move the item. Is there a second? Second from Councilmember Jennings. All in favor of approving the staff recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Linares. This concludes our public hearing item. We will now move on to City Council, City Manager, and Department reports. Councilmember Jennings.
Very much. Thank you, Mayor. Last council meeting, I was remiss, and I wanted to give a shout out to our Parks and Rec team for the Junior Civic Workshop. The students had such a wonderful year this year, and we ended a little early, and it was just a great time, and what a perfect way to end with Parks and Rec giving the presentation. So thank you that all three of you did that, and I know that the students had a wonderful time and looking forward to next year. And to continue on you, thank you so much, Director Harmon, for the Bunny Bonanza. What an incredible event. I love the new venue. It was such a fantastic day, and I heard so much from other people that were there, and Mercedes-Benz, they were so happy to be there, and so thank you so much for all your hard work on that. What a fun day we had, so thank you. And I just want to wish our staff and everyone in our community a joyful and meaningful Passover and a very blessed Easter. May this season of renewal bring peace, hope, and a time well spent with loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Winstead.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so I wanted to share that the American Legion Auxiliary Unit 281 recently had a essay contest. What they did is they reached out to our local elementary schools and the principals for 4th and 5th graders to submit a essay. The topic of the essay is, why do we say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? And there were quite a few essays that were submitted. I got to be on the committee of people who got to read those essays and review them, rank them, and I have to say congratulations to Allie of Hidden Hills Elementary. She's a 4th grader. The principal, Sandra Godbout, Allie's teachers, Allie's parents, just great job, and please bear with me. I'm going to read Allie's essay. I promised I'd do it, and I think that it's definitely worth sharing with the community. So, why do we say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I love that I get to say the Pledge of Allegiance at school every morning, especially at the special flag salute we have each Thursday. I think it is extra special that day because parents join the students and we all face the flag, put our hand over our heart, and say the pledge together. I believe it is important to say the Pledge of Allegiance because it honors the people who fought for our freedom and helps us remember how great our country is. First, when I say the Pledge of Allegiance, I never feel sad after I say it because I feel like I'm honoring people who served in the military. I think that saying the pledge is like saying thank you. When I say the Pledge of Allegiance, I think about my relatives who served in the Army, and I think about how brave they were to fight for our country and risk their lives for our freedom. The Pledge of Allegiance helps me remember how great the United States of America is. We are lucky to live in a wonderful place with freedom. We are free to speak what we think is right, worship however we choose, wear what clothes we like, and live peacefully no matter what differences we may have. The pledge reminds me to be grateful that I get to go to school on the weekdays, church on the weekends, and fill my free time with sports and hobbies that make me happy. The Pledge of Allegiance is a symbol of freedom and justice for all Americans. When we say it, we are reminded how lucky we are to live in a free country. God bless America. Well done, Allie. That was a great essay. Thank you for sharing it.
That was great, and thank you for sharing Allie's essay. God bless America. All right, I love it. Councilmember Otto.
Thank you. Well, spring is always a busy time, and this spring has been no different. I'll just give a few highlights. I want to thank Deputy Bree for showing me around town for a ride-along with Laguna Niguel Police Services. I've done a lot of ride-alongs with multiple agencies, but it's been a while since I had done it with the Sheriff's Department, and it was nice to see some of the updated equipment in the car and see what's happening on our streets in Laguna Niguel, and thankfully it was a calm day, so thank you to Deputy Bree. We welcomed many new businesses here at City Hall a couple weeks ago with the Laguna Niguel Chamber of Commerce. I attended the Taste of Dana in support of Grad Night, the annual Crystal Apple Awards honoring teachers in our public schools, and of course, the Fun Bunny Bonanza. I also attended Orange County Council of Governments annual conference at the Nixon Library, and I highly recommend this abbreviated conference. I went with TCA, but if you're short on time, it's a half of a day, and it's 3 really informative panels, and it was worth the trip up to Yorba Linda. HUD has stopped funding for the Emergency Housing Voucher Program. This is not as a result of the recent CR on the budget, but a federal administration HUD directive. So as of January, Laguna Niguel has 9 people receiving this voucher, 3 family, 2 disabled, and 4 elderly. And then we have, in our surrounding communities, we have around the state, we have 4 in Aliso Viejo, 1 in Dana Point, Laguna Hills 5, Mission Viejo 11, San Juan Capistrano 6. So the funding was supposed to go until 32. It's a program of attrition, so we don't know how long we'll be able to house some of these folks. So to be determined, and hopefully we'll find a local solution for those folks. I asked the staff to provide a summary on how city revenue is affected by the March 27th Trump executive order of 25% tariffs on all cars shipped to the United States, which also includes foreign-made auto parts. Auto and transportation sales represent 3.2% of the city's general fund revenue, representing approximately $1.8 million a year. Since things are a little chaotic on the tariff front, I did double check this morning and found that the tariff is still in place. In Laguna Niguel, we have both U.S.-made and foreign-made car dealers in the city. However, recognize that many U.S. cars are made with foreign auto parts. Our biggest dealer, no doubt, is Mercedes-Benz of Laguna Niguel. Mercedes-Benz actually anticipated the Trump tariffs and built up its inventory here in the U.S. So they will not be passing the tariff price on to customers for 2025 year models. And Mercedes has stated they will continue to monitor the situation and adjust their strategy as needed. There was a big run on cars last month, and if there's a cooling in the next few months, it'll probably, hopefully, even out. So I'm hopeful the city won't see a major change for this budget year, but if the tariff continues, we could see a decrease in this revenue stream in the next budget year. So something to think about. Do you like to read like I do? Every Californian with an email address and an internet connection can now visit California's Bookshelf and access more than 300,000 ebooks and e-audiobooks online. Some great news on the property insurance front. I've talked about this a lot. The National Firewise USA Program Certificate, and how my community, my HOA, became a Firewise community. And I'm encouraging all HOAs to do this. I finally took the time to call my property insurance company, and I got $89 off my annual premium. I thought that was pretty substantial. So I would encourage other HOAs to seek that out. Finally, also want to say Happy Easter, Happy Passover to all who celebrate, and of course, Happy Arbor Day from Laguna Niguel, Tree City, USA. Thanks, everybody.
Mayor Pro Tem Johns.
Thank you. I'll keep this short. I too, in March, did a ride along. So, Captain, thank you very much. I rode with Deputy Vargas. She's your master training officer. Apparently, she's trained just about everybody in Laguna Niguel now. She's amazing. We're in great hands with her as well as the other deputies she's trained and that are here in our city. So thank you very much. I haven't been in a black and white since 1992. So things have changed a lot, all for the better. And I was amazed at how impactful and hardworking our deputies are. They're out there keeping us safe and very enthusiastic about what they do. And I've missed that. I know myself, when I did my patrol time in the 1980s, it was the same thing. And these young, I was going to say kids, but these young deputies show the same zeal for the job that we did when we were in patrol. So I appreciate that and their hard work. And the one thing I'll say is that the day I did my ride along, between 6 a.m. and 4 p.m., there were 6 pretty bad accidents in our city. We need to slow down, pay attention to the signals. It's usually someone making a left turn and someone running a red light. Seems to be the biggest, worst thing. A Cadillac Escalade, huge car, was flipped over on its top. That was a heavy impact. That's some serious speed. So anyway, I do appreciate it. I had a great time, and I appreciate our department, our sheriff's department, and how hard they work for us. I'll end with the Bunny Bonanza. Park and Recs, you guys knocked it out of the park. Thank you and the staff, Director Harmon. The new location is fantastic, and I will say that I finally found out what a touch a truck is, and it wasn't the sheriff's that was the most popular. It wasn't the fire department that was most popular. It was the CR&R, the trash truck. There was a line. I was there from 10 to about 11:30, at least 50 people deep, and these kids, the biggest grins on their face when they got up in those trucks. So great location and a lot of fun. Thank you very much, and I want to wish everybody a happy Easter and a Passover. I believe Passover has already happened, but enjoy your holidays and be safe out there. Thank you.
That's true about the CR&R trucks. My baby son, his favorite day of the week is trash morning when that truck comes down the street, and I'll just take him outside and he will just watch that truck the entire time it's on the street, and his face lights up. Wow. Those trucks, they run on clean natural gas. They cost a pretty penny. They're about $400K each truck, but pretty amazing what they can do. Anyway, I'll go to my council member report. I'm just going to keep this short tonight. Been having a lot of meetings here at City Hall with different stakeholders and different groups to try to work out some of the upcoming things we have going on in this city. And I just want to thank all of our staff and all the community members for meeting me here at City Hall to discuss important issues. Obviously, we've got a big weekend coming up. We have the Niguel Botanical Preserve Earth Day event this Saturday. And so I want to see everybody out there with their smiling faces, a pair of work gloves, a can-do attitude, ready to sink your hands into the earth, breathe new life into that hillside, help us build this beautiful gem we have in Laguna Niguel at the Earth Day event. I think last year they had almost close to 200 individuals, 200 volunteers show up. So I believe it's around 8 a.m. in the morning, and you meet at the Crown Valley Amphitheater, and Monty and his crew with the Niguel Botanical Preserve will be there with everything you need to have a fun morning working on the hillside of Crown Valley Park. And also we have coming up next Saturday is the Taste of Aliso. Now tonight on our consent calendar, we approved some checks for both Dana Hills and Aliso Niguel so they can have a safe, fun grad night. Another way that we can support the students at Aliso Niguel, and you heard that Dana Hills already had their Taste of Dana. On April 26th, that's a Saturday, Aliso Niguel High School is having their Taste of Aliso Niguel. It's always a very fun event for the parents. There's lots of food and drinks and bands, and this year it'll be right outside Webb's Grain Works in Aliso Viejo. Lots of auction items, and so I encourage you to buy your tickets. I think the website is ANHSPFan, stands for Parents for Aliso Niguel. Yeah, ANHSPFan.org, and you can get your tickets there. And then one other cool thing I want to mention that's going on this Saturday at Blue Gates Skate Park here in Laguna Niguel, the skateboard trick contest in the afternoon. So you can find more information about that on any of our social media channels or probably through our city website. But Parks and Rec is putting on an awesome skateboard trick contest at our local skate park, so that should be a lot of fun. And I just want to wish everybody a happy Easter, happy Passover, and those are my comments. City Manager Letourneau.
Thank you, Mayor. We have one report this evening from OCFA. It'll be presented by our Division Chief, Mike Summers.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Honorable Mayor Genoway, City Council, City Staff, City Manager Letourneau for the opportunity to provide the Orange County Fire Authority's quarterly update. The OCFA provides education outreach through our community education specialists and firefighters. During this quarter, we participate in the following events: fire safety presentation, fire extinguisher training at the Sea Country Senior and Community Center, Bergenson Elementary School fire safety presentation. Laguna Niguel fire units attended the Laguna Niguel Little League opening day. Kensington Montessori School show and tell with our firefighters. Natural Image OC fire safety presentation. And lastly, we participated in numerous fire station tours and car seat installations at Laguna Niguel Fire Stations 5, 39, and 49. On January 20th at 9:56 p.m., Orange County Fire Authority's Emergency Command Center received a report of a vehicle fire inside of a garage at the 30,000 block of Calle Barbosa in Laguna Niguel. The Emergency Command Center launched a structure fire response, which consists of 4 fire engines and 2 fire trucks. Laguna Niguel fire units arrived on scene of a fully involved garage fire and established Barbosa Incident Command. Crews simultaneously initiated a search for the residents and attacked the fire in the garage. Fire crews' search revealed that all occupants were fortunately out of the residence, and shortly thereafter, the fire was knocked down and deemed under control by the incident commander. Thank you to our participating agencies, the Orange County Sheriff's Department and the Laguna Beach Fire Department, for their assistance during this incident. Laguna Niguel's firefighters continue to hone the skills required to fight structural wildland fires effectively, respond to hurt persons in remote areas, and treat the sick and injured. Examples of our all-hazard training during this quarter include the following: strategy and tactics on high-rise incidents, expanded radio communications on complex incidents, CPR and advanced life support training, wildland operations training and preparation for the 2025 fire season. And lastly, if you'd like to follow your Laguna Niguel firefighters on Instagram, please go to OCFA Division 5. This concludes this quarter's Orange County Fire Authority's update, unless anyone has questions. Thank you.
That concludes our reports this evening.
Great, thank you so much. All right, well, that concludes our meeting. We are adjourned at 7:46 p.m. Yeah.
All the time, go out, Toshvik's here, so we'd go
Yeah.
run out. And then I vividly remember the day when I said, Grant, Josh is coming, do you want to go wave? And he goes, no, I'm good. No. And then